Good morning, Thomas MacLaren School. Today I want to tell you about two poets, Langston Hughes and Gwendolyn Brooks. James Mercer Langston Hughes was born on February 1st, 1901. We know him today as Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes was a central figure in the Harlem Renaissance, the flowering of Black intellectual, literary, and artistic life that took place in the 1920s in a number of American cities, particularly Harlem. He sought to honestly portray the joys and hardships of working-class Black lives, avoiding both sentimental idealization and negative stereotypes. As he wrote in an essay, quote, "We younger Black artists who create now intend to express our individual dark-skinned selves without fear or shame. If white people are pleased, we are glad. If they are not, it doesn't matter. We know we are beautiful and ugly too." End quote. Langston Hughes wrote pretty much everything you can think of. Short stories, essays, multiple autobiographies, novels, operas, plays, children's books, translations of other writers into English. Simply put, he was prolific, which means he produced a lot of work. But we remember him best for his poems. Langston Hughes wrote a great many poems that contain the word dream in the title. We read in his poems in our 9th HL curriculum, so I won't cover that much here, but I'll read a different one that we do not cover. I Dream a World by Langston Hughes, and you can just follow along with the slides. I dream a world where man, no other man, will scorn, where love will bless the earth, and peace its paths adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day. A world I dream, where black or white, whatever race you may be, will share the bounties of the earth, and every man is free, where wretchedness will hang its head, and joy, like a pearl, attends the needs of all mankind. Of such I dream, my world. Now turning to Gwendolyn Brooks. Gwendolyn Brooks is one of the most highly regarded, influential, and widely read poets of 20th century American poetry. She was a much honored poet, even in her lifetime, with the distinction of being the first Black author to win the Pulitzer Prize. She was also a poetry consultant to the Library of Congress, the first Black woman to hold that position, and poet laureate of the state of Illinois. Brooks was born in Topeka, Kansas, but her family moved to Chicago when she was young. Her father was a janitor who had hoped to become a doctor. Her mother was a school teacher and a classically trained pianist. They were supportive of their daughter's passion for reading and writing. In fact, when Brooks was 13 years old, she published her first poem, Eventide. By the time she was 17, she was publishing poems frequently in the Chicago Defender, a newspaper serving Chicago's African American population. After attending junior college and working for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, she developed her craft and poetry workshops and began writing the poems, focusing on urban Black experience that comprised her first collection, A Street in Bronzeville, published in 1945. She won the Pulitzer Prize for Annie Allen, published in 1949. Brooks once described her style as folksy narrative, but she varied her forms, using free verse, sonnets, and other models. In Annie Allen, which follows the experience of a Black girl she grows into adulthood, one section of the book is an epic poem, The Anniead, which is a play on the Aeneid. Langston Hughes, in a review of Annie Allen for Voices, remarked that, quote, "The people and poems in Gwendolyn Brooks's book are alive, reaching, and very much of today," end quote. Brooks, like Hughes, was a prolific writer. She wrote a 2-volume autobiography, a novel, and of course, scores of poetry. Here are a couple of her poems, which you can follow along with. Kitchenette Building by Gwendolyn Brooks. We are things of dry hours and the involuntary plan, grayed in and gray. Dream makes a giddy sound, not strong like rent, feeding a wife, satisfying a man. But could a dream send up through onion fumes its white and violet, fight with fried potatoes and yesterday's garbage ripening in the hall? Flutter or sing an aria down these rooms, even if we were willing to let it in, had time to warm it, keep it very clean, anticipate a message, let it begin? We wonder, but not well, not for a minute. Since number 5 is out of the bathroom now, we think of lukewarm water, hope to get in it. Sadie and Maud by Gwendolyn Brooks. Maud went to college, Sadie stayed at home. Sadie scraped life with a fine-toothed comb. She didn't leave a tangle in, her comb found every strand. Sadie is one of the livingest chits in all the land. Sadie bore 2 babies, under her maiden name. Maud and Ma and Papa nearly died of shame. When Sadie said her last so long, her girl struck out from home. Sadie had left as heritage, her fine-toothed comb. Maud, who went to college, is a thin brown mouse. She is living all alone in this old house. I hope you enjoyed those poems. Thank you, MacLaren. Before I go, MacLaren, I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude for you all, for you, amazing students, that make my life and so many others so rich and full. I am grateful for seeing seniors preparing for Shakespeare plays and showing me their self-portraits. I am grateful for hearing about how excited the juniors have been to read Socrates and grapple with questions such as, what is virtue? What is justice? I am grateful for the 10th graders and seeing them inhabit the new modulars and hearing about their joy in learning a new language this year, whether it's Greek, German, French, or Spanish. I am grateful for the 9th graders who let me ask them questions about their earthworm and crawfish dissections. I am grateful for the 8th graders who are so kind and regularly greet me with a smile and a hello in the hallways, and for being excellent students in geography, even as Miss Harder has to zoom into class. I am grateful for the 7th graders and all their wonderful work on Project Week. It was a joy to see your own excitement to study medieval history for its own sake. And special shout out goes to the 7th grade boy who stopped by my office to show me his report on Dover Castle. I am grateful for all the 6th graders who let me join their classrooms for morning assembly. And special shout out to the 6th grade boys class who let me compete with them in their Greek alphabet competition. I'm grateful for all the extra hours that our faculty and admin have put in to make this school year possible. And I am grateful for all of you students who have shown resilience, flexibility, and endurance in a challenging year. Despite the difficulties, you have been a remarkable community of learners who treat each other with kindness, friendliness, and peace, who have sought to be fully awake and alive to the world. Thank you. One thing I did want to add is, I know it has been hard this year when things you love and come to expect seem to be taken away. Whether it's clubs, a shortened sports season, or not being able to do in-person learning for 2 weeks and so on. Typically this time of year, we do the Mrs. Hall Day of Leisure, or Leisure Day for short, where we cancel normal classes, teachers pair new ones, and students get to pick what they want to learn that day. Unfortunately, we can't do that this year because we are not allowed to mix cohorts. I know this is disappointing. My hope is that in future years, we can continue this wonderful tradition again, where we get to celebrate Mrs. Hall and learning for its own sake. But given the restrictions, we just can't do Leisure Day. Well, I mean, well, you know, it's not a bad idea. You know, we could pull it off. Well, no, we just can't mix cohorts, so never mind. Well, well, instead of you choosing the Leisure Day classes, what if the Leisure Day classes chose you? Oh yeah, that just might work. I think we could pull that off. So yeah, you guys would stay in your own sections, and teachers just come to you and they just surprise you with the topic for the day. You don't even need to mix cohorts. We could totally do that. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah. All right, we can pull this off, everybody. Yeah, you know what? Let's just do it. We've got an extra in-person day. You all showed up here. I officially declare this Leisure Day COVID edition. So, all right. Okay, let's calm down, settle down. All right, so let's just cover some logistics if we're gonna do this. So, yes, just you all should know, no homework for the day. You're just gonna enjoy learning for its own sake. So before I get into that, let's talk about why we celebrate this day. So in the spring of 2019, the League of Charter Schools selected Mrs. Hall as the Colorado Charter School Leader of the Year. Mr. Alvarado said of Mrs. Hall receiving this award at the time, "More than a curriculum or a dress code, what makes MacLaren different is a culture, one marked by respect for our students, for their parents, for one another as colleagues, and for the essential humanity of everyone we meet. This school culture exists because of the profound example set by Mary Faith Hall. Possessed of both a fierce intellect and a deeply compassionate heart, Mrs. Hall brings a spirit of integrity to everything she does. She is so very deserving of this recognition." In the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle speaks of the spoudios, the one who recognizes value where it truly is and applies themselves to its pursuit. Mrs. Hall is the spoudia of Thomas MacLaren School. Students, staff, and faculty, please join me in congratulating Mrs. Hall and give her a round of applause in your classroom. All right, so how are we going to do Leisure Day? So here's the plan. As I said before, instead of you choosing the Leisure Day classes, the Leisure Day classes are going to choose you. So you just do your normal class and schedule routine. Your regular teachers show up, except they're just going to surprise you with a topic for that day. So, for instance, let's say you're a 6th grade girl alpha. You have Mr. Kolb first hour. When he comes to get you for first hour class, he'll just let you know what the surprise topic will be. Then you go to Miss Rorstrom's 2nd hour lit comp class, and she'll surprise you with a new subject for that day. Or let's say, for example, you're a 10th grade boy beta. You'll have Mr. Schmidtken for 1st and 2nd hour, and he'll surprise you with the topic for that day when he comes for what would normally be HL. So that's it. Got surprise class for the day, no homework. One quick note, the seniors in drama this week still need to rehearse because we actually have the performances next week. So you'll still have to do rehearsal during normal drama hours. Last thing before I go, I want to talk about what is leisure. So I had a student tell me last year, "Mr. LaBadie, other schools do leisure every day." And I said, "How's that?" Because at other schools, you get to choose whatever class you want. You could just take a Mexican cooking class instead of literature, and that's leisure. I thought about what this student said, and I realized he didn't quite understand what leisure is. Leisure is not just mere choice. It's not just doing whatever you want, although leisure is a liberating experience. I'll give you examples of leisure that actually happen every day here. Mrs. LaBadie sharing with me how her 11th grade junior class was so excited to read Socrates and were so excited by the conversation. Mr. Morgan telling me last semester how enthusiastic his seniors were to pick a Greek text of their choosing to translate and present to the rest of the class. Mrs. Cooper's biology students thinking through and questioning what it meant to have scientific evidence. And in the process, they discussed natural selection and made connections with Mr. Nagaoka's morning assembly on dog breeds. Mr. Redpath leading a faculty seminar on Beethoven. All these examples were instances of leisure, and they occurred in the daily life of our school. Aristotle says that leisure is an activity of stillness and attentiveness, where one can be disrupted by the ordinary. It is this disruption that drives one to know. He says, quote, "Leisure gives pleasure and happiness and enjoyment of life," end quote. Joseph Pieper, a 20th century philosopher, says that to have leisure is, quote, "to perceive all that is unusual and exceptional, all that is wonderful in the midst of the ordinary things of everyday life," end quote. Roger Scruton, a contemporary philosopher who died last year, says, quote, "Leisure is then eating a meal among those we love, dancing together at a wedding, sitting side by side with people silenced by music, that we recognize our failure to understand the world, end quote. A feast is a fitting example for leisure. An excellent meal requires preparation and effort, yet the end is conversation and warmth. Dance requires training and consistency, yet the end is delight and lightness. Music requires patience and dedication, yet the end is awe and joy. Leisure encompasses all these experiences. We do Leisure Day not because every other day lacks leisure. We do it to remind you in a unique way about the joy of learning for its own sake, about the delight in asking questions, about a topic just because. There are no grades today, no assignments, no homework. It's just a day to learn, and I hope it reminds you of why we do school, because it's just enjoyable and it brings pleasure and happiness. And in this year of all years, we still need to be reminded of this and know this. It's fascinating that the root word of school is skole from the Greek, which means leisure. With that in mind, I hope you have a wonderful Leisure Day, MacLaren. Enjoy.